Hi, this is Gina Brooks with the Proteus Human Resources Department. Have you ever heard the saying, it's not personal, it's business? Well, today we're going to talk about servant leadership. And with servant leadership, business is personal. Many of you have probably heard of servant leadership before. It's the opposite philosophy of the micromanager or the top-down approach. It's flipped upside down and it's the bottom-up approach. And that's what we're going to delve into today. But I'm going to start with my quote because that's what I do. True leadership must be for the benefit of the followers, not to enrich the leader. So how many of you have heard of Robert Greenleaf? If you haven't, he is the writer in the 1970s who coined the modern definition of servant leadership, and he actually came up with 10 different principles that outline servant leadership. But today, later on in the discussion, I'm going to talk about 4 of the top ones that I feel. So Greenleaf believed that leaders should be servants at their core. That means you should have that natural instinct to want to serve. And I know that pretty much anybody that works at Proteus has that core instinct to serve. We are a service organization. No one works at Proteus to get rich. They certainly work here because they care about the mission. And that's what Greenfield's saying. If you're a leadership, there's a natural instinct to want to serve. And I think there's a misconception about what leadership is. It's not a dictatorship. And that's what he was trying to get across when he coined this phrase, serve first, right? And he defined servant leadership not just as that natural feeling to serve, but he said the true test of a servant leader is asking yourself, did your employees improve and grow? Are they happier? Are they healthier? Are they better learners? Are they the type of people that learned from your value system and your way of leading and became servant leaders themselves? So those are the true tests if you've done your job correctly as a servant leader. So the number one focus of a servant leader is the growth and well-being of their employees and the communities in which they serve. I'm going to tell you this story, and it was kind of a really nice example of what a servant leader is. The story was about this 17-year-old young man. He had this goal of attending a particular college to play lacrosse. Well, there was a new coach for that particular school that he was interested in. And that coach came on. I guess the school had really poor history in terms of winning. And he came across this 17-year-old high school superstar that he wanted to recruit. So he met with the father and the son, and the boy was very interested, and they wanted him to sign, right? Because every recruiter in every college was going to be trying to get him, and he said, I'll give you a verbal, okay, but do you mind if I wait until the springtime? The coach said yes, but of course, he's panicking because from that point on, every recruiter across the countries were going to this 17-year-old school and watching him play in hopes of recruiting him. So by the next spring, the coach went back to the son and the dad and asked him, why did you make me wait so long to sign with us when I know you wanted to go to this school, and kind of put me, the coach, through this? And I want to read to you what the exact quote he said, because this is a true story. Okay, so this was his response to the coach. Coach, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of colleges come to see me play each week. Most of my teammates weren't getting scholarship offers or even being recruited earlier this year, but now they are. By me not committing anywhere, all the college coaches who kept coming to see me play got a chance to discover how good some of my teammates were. If I signed early with you, all those other coaches would have stopped coming to the games, and none of my teammates would have got recruited. I mean, wow, this is a 17-year-old. I have a 17-year-old. My 17-year-old, yeah, I don't even want to go there. It would not be like this. Let's just put it that way. This young boy acted as a servant leader to his teammates at a young age. Look what he did as a servant leader. He thought of others first. He knew that everyone wanted him. He cared about his teammates and wanted them to get exposure, so he held back so that they could get the opportunity to shine. So that was just such a wonderful example of what a servant leader is, because servant leaders think of others. Okay, so being a servant leader is not easy, right? It's most of us in programs at least worry about numbers, and then we've got our leaders and then their leaders wanting to have results, right? So they're not really maybe into this whole feel-good philosophy of training and positive encouragement and laughter in the workplace and serving others through bringing joy. They might just be thinking about the results. So as a servant leader, you're not just thinking about the results, you're thinking about the feelings and care of others. And that's not always easy, okay? So let's talk about the principles of servant leaders. And I told you earlier, there's actually, with Greenleaf, he had like 10 official principles of servant leadership. And you can Google him and you can look at all of those principles. They're all wonderful, but I wanted to kind of key it down a little bit to four that I feel are imperative for a servant leader. And so the first one is, and before I go there, I want to add, which is probably my favorite description of what a servant leader is they're people connectors. I absolutely love that. They're people connectors, they're relationship builders, and those that treat their employees like human beings, not like objects. They're intentional in their role, and they lead by example, kind of like what we talked about last week when we say walk the talk, right? They lead by example and they pay it forward. So they're wanting to continue to serve and create other servant leaders, okay? So I'm just going to go over four of the principles that I think are the most important. And the first one is listen carefully to understand others. Listening as a leader is important. And I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes I'm so busy and, an employee will come in and they'll want my time. And I really, really try to get off my computer, because I'm usually like this direction, and I move my body this direction to give them my full attention. And if I can't at that moment, I'll say, I'm really busy at this moment. Can you come back at 2 or 1, or when I can give you my full attention? Because you don't want to be distracted when they are there to talk to you. They might have an issue, they might just want to share ideas, but those are all important opportunities. So you need to be not only an active listener, you have to move them and inspire them through your example. So if you take the time to actually listen to them and give them your full attention, don't interrupt them when they're talking. You'd be surprised, like if you actually truly listen to what they're saying, or even what they're not saying, right? Because sometimes they're not always telling you something, but you can look at their body language if you're really paying attention and start asking questions. Is there something bothering you? Did you want to talk about something? Those types of things. So give cues that you're listening, yes, I understand. And when they're done, these are all listening 101 classes, but it's true. And I, as much as we talk about the importance of listening, I think we all fall a little bit short in that area. I know I do. And that's something that I really wanted to work on and do better. And when you have ADD like me, your mind's going a mile a minute and I'm thinking 12 steps ahead. And sometimes I just need to take a deep breath and really hear what my people are saying to me. And then also give them feedback once they've told you whatever they need to tell you. Say, is this what you're telling me? Is this what you're wanting to explain to me? And make sure that you're on the equal understanding. But also part of listening is being open to different perspectives, right? Because listening and being open to new ideas. And we've talked about this in past videos that I've done, encouraging creative thoughts and ideas and having that open door policy, and the importance of your employees feeling that they can come to you and engage in conversation and share things with you. As a leader, you want your employees to trust you, you want them to respect you, and you want to give that back to them. And you can give that back to them by acknowledging their person, acknowledging their presence, by being an active listener, okay? So the next one is sharing power, okay? And I know that sounds strange, right? Because as a leader, you're leading, but I truly believe in consensus building, right? A leader is, our job is to persuade, to influence, and to move. But the reality is, the more buy-in we have from staff, the more successful we'll be, right? Because if you're just telling your employees to do something and they don't believe in it and they weren't a part of the process, you're going to have a more difficult time instituting that policy or process. But if you let decision making be a shared responsibility and empower them to make decisions, the great thing about empowerment is they learn to hold themselves accountable for what you're empowering them to do, which is what I always do with my staff. I say, I empower you to make that decision. And when they make that decision, eventually, sometimes they'll be like I want the answer. And I'll say, I trust your recommendation. I trust where you're going with this. The reason why I do that is, let's say they failed. Let's say it was a mistake. We'll learn from it, because if you don't make mistakes, you're never going to grow and learn. So sometimes they have to learn through mistakes. Another good thing about having them being empowered to make a decision is that they take ownership of that decision, right? So they hold themselves accountable, like I said, to whatever happens with that decision. If it's successful, if it's not, it's a shared responsibility, okay? So a servant leader uses persuasion, right? I mean, it's not like they're saying, go for it, knock yourself out. I'm not going to be here to, hold you up if you fall. No, they're persuading, and they have very subtle ways of sharing their ideas and opinions through mirroring those attributes themselves. So eventually, employees see a servant leader making certain decisions or behaving in a certain way, they end up mirroring it. So you're able to persuade them. The more they respect you, the more they think you're an expert in the area that you're in, they will be more inclined to follow you, okay? So the next one is, this is my ultimate one, is the show people they matter to you. And again, that's one of those soft skills that some leaders think are not important. And to me, it's the number one important thing. And I always say, care enough to know and know enough to care. That's really important, because you have to get that personal relationship with someone and truly build their trust in it, not just to be this, like, I'm the boss, you're the employee. No, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. I care about you. A servant leader is empathetic, sensitive, caring, and not just caring about work situations, but caring and empathetic as much as possible about personal situations, right? The more you develop that personal trust and relationship, the more your employees are inclined to trust you in times that maybe they need some feedback, or they get the confidence in you that you care about them, so they're not fearful of coming to you in times of need or sharing opinions and feedback with you, okay? So know what know that your employees have children, know that ask them, we do this thing called a shout out, like at our meetings, and that gives us an opportunity to thank one another. But also we do different team building exercises, getting to know you exercises. We always take that first probably 20 minutes of a meeting to do something fun, something to get to know you, We also, before COVID, hopefully we'll get to do it soon, we'd have a fun Friday and we'd play, take a 3 o'clock break to go do something fun, whether it just be a quick game, sit up front, have a snack, chat. All of that builds relationship and trust amongst the team, and it's very, very important. Okay. So the last one on my list, and I think is equally important because I talk about it a lot, is developing others. Servant leaders are committed to their employees' personal and professional growth. A servant leader is a mentor. They're there to better that person. And I always say to my employees, like, how can I serve you? Particularly, like, let's say evaluation time. I'm evaluating them, right? But shouldn't they be evaluating me as well? Meaning, I usually say at the end of the evaluation, how have I done? How have I done as your boss? What can I do better? What kind of resources can I try to give you? Is there anything you need this year that I can provide you? You switch the thinking in your brain. And if you think about it, what is a purpose-driven life? Like for me personally, my purpose in life is to get my children out of my home. Grow them so that they're responsible adults who move out and are able to exist without me. Same can be said as a servant leader. My job is purely to grow my people. That's it. My number one concern is to grow my people to make them successful. My ultimate goal, and I have to say I had a success in this recently, is for them to grow so much that they will leave the organization and move up somewhere else. And one of my long-term employees, I won't even take credit, but she's moving on to a great opportunity in life, and I'm so proud of her. And we've all, as sad as we are, we're more proud because she's an example of what I wanted. It's that proud mom moment that, my cub has moved on and has this incredible responsibility and this incredible opportunity. Okay, so always invest in personal and professional development. Like I said last week, send them to trainings. One of the biggest gifts my supervisor gave me back before I was HR director, is she gave me the opportunity to stand in for her when she went on maternity leave and be a part of the board of directors representing HR. And I really, it was such a great growth experience for me in so many ways. Obviously, I got to meet the highest leaders of the organization and learn from them, but it was also like an eye-opening experience, right? It was scary, right? Because you're like the top dogs there, but it was also super exciting. And that's something I always try to do with my staff, is let them attend some type of leadership opportunity in my place or alongside me. So then they get the opportunity to grow and go outside and see what the possibilities are. Okay, so I can go on and on about servant leadership, and I'm hoping in the future we do a more formal training about servant leadership, and hopefully I can do that with Michelle Ingalls Silva. She does a great job on servant leadership as well, so her and I will have to team up and provide a more extensive training in that, because I'm such a supporter and believer of that. And I know for a fact our CEO, Robert Alcazar, is a servant leader by heart. He is. And that's something that we want to create as a culture in the organization. So I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to have one question. How do you know someone is a good leader? And I'm going to give you the answer. How about that? Because people want to follow them. That's how you know you're a good leader. Will your people follow you? If you don't know, you've got a problem. And if you think they will, then congratulations, you're a servant leader. Anyway, until next time, I'm signing off. Toodles. Bye.